My sister uninvited me from her own wedding just to please her fiancé, and what happened next shocked everyone. I need to tell you about the time my family showed me exactly where I stood in their hierarchy, and how a text message about a wedding turned into the best thing that ever happened to me. Sounds dramatic, I know, but stay with me. It started on a Tuesday morning. I was having coffee at my desk when my phone buzzed with a message from my sister. Not unusual. We texted maybe once a week, mostly about family stuff or her wedding planning. She'd been engaged for 8 months at this point. And I'll be honest, I wasn't thrilled about the guy. But that's not really the story yet. The message was short, painfully short. Hey, so we've been looking at the final numbers, and we're really tight on space. We had to make some difficult cuts to the guest list. I'm so sorry, but we won't be able to have you at the ceremony. I hope you understand. I read it 3 times. Then I screenshot it and stared at the words, trying to make them mean something different. My sister was getting married in 6 weeks. I'd already bought a suit, a nice one, dark blue, that I'd spent too much on because I wanted to look good in the photos. I'd taken the weekend off work, cleared my calendar, even started working on a toast. You know, brother of the bride stuff. And I was being uninvited, for space limitations. Here's the thing about my family. I've always been the one people call when things go wrong. When my sister's car broke down at 2 in the morning 3 years ago, who drove an hour to get her? When she needed someone to co-sign her first apartment because her credit was trash from maxing out store cards? When she was sobbing about her previous boyfriend who turned out to be cheating on her with his coworker who stayed on the phone until 4 in the morning? Me, always me. I'd lent her money, never saw most of it back. I'd helped her move apartments 4 times. I'd given her job references, relationship advice, emotional support. I showed up. That's what I did. That's who I was in the family ecosystem. But this felt different. This felt deliberate. I didn't respond to her text. Instead, I called my mother. She answered on the 3rd ring with that careful voice she uses when she knows there's going to be a problem. I suppose your sister told you, she said, before I could even speak. Tell me it's not true. There was a long pause. Too long. Kieran, these things happen. Weddings are expensive and there's only so much room. Don't. My voice came out harder than I intended. Don't insult me with the space excuse. They're having it at the Grand Harbor Hotel with the massive ballroom. I've seen the venue. I helped her research it, remember? So tell me what's really going on. Another pause. Then, with a sigh that sounded almost relieved to finally say it out loud, her fiancé doesn't want you there. The words hung in the air between us like smoke. Explain that to me, I said quietly. He thinks your opinions about their relationship are toxic. He remembers when you talked to your sister about some concerns you had early on, and he's never forgiven you for trying to, quote, poison her against him. Ah, there it was. 8 months ago, when my sister first started dating this guy, let's call him what my friends and I privately called him, the politician, because he was always performing, always on, always working an angle. I noticed some red flags. Little things at first. The way he'd correct her stories in front of people. How he always needed to know where she was, who she was with. The time he got visibly angry because she didn't text him back fast enough during her work shift. I did what any concerned brother would do. I pulled her aside and gently, carefully, mentioned that some of these behaviors concerned me. Not even in a confrontational way. Just, hey, I noticed this thing. And it reminds me of what we learned about when we took that psychology class together, remember? She didn't take it well. Told me I was being overprotective, that I didn't understand their dynamic, that he was just passionate about their relationship, that I was jealous she was moving on with her life. I backed off because, well, she's an adult, and I'm not going to force the issue. I figured she'd either figure it out herself or I'd been wrong about him. Apparently, he'd been holding that conversation against me for 8 months. Apparently, it had been festering. So let me get this straight, I said to my mother, my grip tightening on the phone until my knuckles went white. He gave her an ultimatum about me, and she chose him. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. Did she even try to push back? Did she defend me at all? Silence, which was answer enough. And you? I asked. What do you think about all this? I think, she took a breath. I think you'll understand. You always understand, Kieran. That's who you are. You're the reasonable one, the one who doesn't make waves. Your sister is in a delicate position right now, planning this wedding, trying to start her life with her future husband. Maybe it's better if you just let this one go. For her sake, let it go. For her sake. Like I'd let go of so many other things over the years for her sake. The time my sister borrowed $2,000 for emergencies, turned out it was for a vacation with her friends, and never paid it back. The Christmas, she forgot to get me a present, but I'd spent weeks finding the perfect gift for her. The countless family dinners where I was the one who had to smooth over arguments and play peacemaker while everyone else got to be emotional and messy and real. You always understand. That phrase, God, I'd heard it my whole life. You always understand, Kieran. You're so mature, Kieran. You don't need as much attention, Kieran. Your sister is more sensitive, more fragile, needs more support. You can handle things on your own. Something crystallized in that moment, something sharp and clear and final. No, I said. What? No, I don't understand, and I'm not going to pretend I do. I hung up before she could respond. I sat at my desk for maybe 10 minutes, just breathing. My coffee had gone cold. My work emails were piling up. I'm a project manager at a tech company, and we had a deadline approaching, but I couldn't focus on any of it. Then I picked up my phone again and called my sister. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. On the third try, she picked up. I can't talk right now, she started. Yes, you can, I cut her off. We're going to have this conversation now, and you're going to be honest with me for once in your life. Excuse me? Mom told me the real reason I'm uninvited. So drop the space limitation story and tell me yourself. Tell me that your fiancé gave you an ultimatum and you chose him over your own brother. She was quiet for so long I thought she'd hung up. Then, you don't know what it's been like. Planning this wedding, dealing with his family, trying to make everyone happy. Tell me about the ultimatum. Fine. Her voice went hard. Defensive. Yes. He said, either you stay away from the wedding, or he'd seriously reconsider marrying me. He said he can't start a marriage with someone whose family undermines him and disrespects his relationship. Happy now? Undermines him? I had one conversation with you where I expressed concern. You called him controlling. You made me doubt him. I said some of his behaviors seemed concerning, because they were. They still are, but apparently you're fine with that now. See? This is exactly what I'm talking about. Her voice was rising, getting shrill. You always think you know better. You always have to analyze everything. Judge everyone. Point out problems. Did it ever occur to you that maybe you just don't understand our relationship? That maybe you're not the expert on everything? I understand that healthy relationships don't involve isolating you from your family. Oh, please, you're being so dramatic. One day. It's one day of my life, and you can't even let me have that without making it about you and your feelings. Something about that line, the sheer audacity of it, made me laugh. Actually laugh. A bitter sound. Making it about me? You're the one who uninvited me from your wedding because your fiancé can't handle that your brother once dared to question him. This is entirely about him and his insecurity. It's my wedding, she was shouting now. Really shouting. I had to pull the phone away from my ear. I get to decide who's there. And maybe if you weren't so judgmental all the time, if you actually supported me instead of criticizing every decision I make, this wouldn't be happening. Name one time I didn't support you when you actually needed it. You didn't like my last boyfriend either. He was cheating on you. I helped you move out of his apartment at 3 in the morning when you called me crying. You always have to be the hero, don't you? Always have to be the good one, the responsible one, the one who swoops in and saves the day. Well, guess what? I'm tired of it. I'm tired of feeling like I'm constantly being compared to you and falling short. The family favorite, the one who has his life together, the one who never screws up, the one everyone can count on. And there it was, finally. The real issue underneath everything. Not about the wedding, not about the politician, not even about me warning her about red flags. This was about years of resentment I hadn't even known existed. So this is about jealousy, I said flatly. Don't psychoanalyze me. I'm not. I'm just finally understanding what this has really been about. You're marrying someone who makes you feel like you're in control for once. Like you're the important one, the one making decisions. Even if that means cutting out anyone who might question him. Even if that person is your brother who's done nothing but show up for you. Get over yourself, Kieran. Not everything is some deep psychological drama. Sometimes people just make choices. I'm choosing my future husband. That's what adults do. They prioritize their spouse. Adults also stand up for their family. Adults don't cave to ultimatums from insecure partners. Adults have the backbone to say, no, my brother is important to me and he's coming to my wedding. We're done here. Yeah, I said, my voice suddenly calm. We really are. And I hung up. My hands were shaking. I'd never spoken to my sister like that. I'd never let myself get that angry, that honest, that raw. It felt terrible and liberating at the same time. like lancing an infected wound that had been poisoning me slowly. I sat there for maybe 20 minutes just processing. My heart was pounding. I felt sick and energized and furious and sad all at once. Then I did something that, looking back, was probably the first genuinely healthy decision I'd made regarding my family in years. I opened a travel website and started searching. Caribbean resorts, all-inclusive, the exact weekend of my sister's wedding. I found a place, nice place, beautiful reviews, infinity pool overlooking the ocean. Not cheap, but I had savings. I'd been setting aside money for her wedding gift, about $800 I'd planned to contribute to their honeymoon fund. That money was now going to my own vacation. The flights and resort together came to about $2,400, more than I'd usually spend. I put half on a credit card I'd been keeping clear for emergencies. Was this an emergency? Maybe not in the traditional sense, but it felt necessary. Essential, even. I booked it, clicked confirm. Watched the confirmation email arrive in my inbox. The dates? Friday through the following Sunday. I'd be checking into a Caribbean resort on Friday afternoon. On Saturday at 4, when my sister was saying, "I do," I'd be at a swim-up bar with a mojito. If I wasn't going to be at the wedding, I sure as hell wasn't going to sit at home feeling sorry for myself. That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying the conversations, my heart pounding with adrenaline, and something that felt like both terror and liberation at the same time. The next few days were strange. I went to work, tried to focus on my projects, but kept getting distracted. My boss noticed. "You okay, Kieran? You seem off." "Family stuff," I said. "Ah, the worst kind. Let me know if you need anything." "Actually," I said, "I need to extend my time off next month. The weekend I requested, I need to make it a full week." He frowned. "That's short notice. We've got the product launch." "I know, but I've never taken an unplanned vacation in 5 years here. I'm asking for this 1 week." He studied me for a moment, then nodded. "Okay, but this uses up your goodwill, understand? Don't make it a habit." "I won't. Thank you." So that was settled. Work approved, though not thrilled about it. My finances would be tight for a couple months after putting the trip on credit, but I'd manage. I'd always managed. 3 days after the phone call with my sister, I still hadn't heard from her. My mother had sent several long text messages that I'd read but not responded to, each one a variation on the theme of, "Why are you making this harder than it needs to be?" and "Your sister is under so much stress right now," and "The family is worried about you." The family is worried, as if I was the problem, as if I was the one who'd created this situation. I ignored all of it. I went to work, hit the gym, had drinks with my best friend. His name's Trevor, and we've been friends since college. He's the only person outside my family who knows the full extent of how dysfunctional they are, because he's seen it firsthand at various family gatherings over the years. I told him the whole story over beers one night. He looked at me like I just told him I discovered my family were secretly aliens. "Wait, they actually uninvited you? From a wedding?" "Yep, that's actually insane. Like, I've heard of family drama, but that's next level." He shook his head. "And they expect you to just take it?" "My mother said I should understand because I'm the reasonable one." Dude, that's manipulation. That's literally just manipulation. They've trained you to accept unacceptable behavior by making you feel like you're the problem if you object. Hearing it said out loud like that, so blunt, so clear, hit me hard. Yeah, I'm starting to see that. "So what are you going to do?" "I'm going to the Caribbean." His eyebrows shot up. "Seriously?" "Dead serious. I leave Friday morning, same weekend as the wedding. I'll be on a beach with a drink in my hand while they're doing the chicken dance." He started laughing. Really laughing. The kind that makes other people in the bar look over. "That's amazing. That's actually amazing. Can I come?" "You're welcome to, but it's short notice and probably expensive." "Nah, I can't take the time off work anyway. But man, I support this choice 100%. You deserve it." "You don't think it's petty?" "Oh, it's absolutely petty. It's also completely justified. They literally excluded you from a family event. You're allowed to exclude yourself from caring about their drama." That validation meant more than I could express. Trevor had never steered me wrong. He'd been the one to point out years ago that my family took advantage of me. He'd been the first person to use the word parentification when describing how I'd been forced into an adult role with my sister from a young age. He got it. The weeks crawled by. 6 weeks until the wedding became 5, then 4, then 3. My sister posted regularly on social media about wedding preparations, Dress fittings, cake tastings, venue decorations, bachelorette party photos. I wasn't blocked from seeing any of it, which felt intentional. Like she wanted me to see what I was missing, wanted me to feel the exclusion, wanted me to come crawling back and apologize. But I didn't. I just watched from a distance, scrolling past her posts the same way I'd scroll past a stranger's vacation photos. Detached. Uninvested. My mother called twice. I let both calls go to voicemail. Her messages were masterclasses in guilt manipulation, honed over years of practice. I don't understand why you're being so stubborn about this. It's one day, Kieran. Can't you just put your pride aside for your sister's happiness? She's getting married. This is supposed to be the happiest time of her life, and you're ruining it with this silent treatment. What will people think when they ask about you? Your absence is going to cause so much drama. The silent treatment. Ruining her happiness. As if I was the one who'd created this situation. As if I'd been the one to issue ultimatums and exclude family members. I didn't respond to the voicemails. A week before the wedding, my cousin, her name's Ivy, and she's the one person in my extended family I actually liked, called me. "Hey, what's going on with you and your sister?" she asked without preamble. I gave her the condensed version. There was a long pause. Wow. Okay. So they're just pretending you don't exist? Apparently. That's messed up. Like, really messed up. And your mom's okay with this? My mom thinks I should be the bigger person and let it go. Of course she does. God, your family's dynamics are so toxic. I love my aunt, but she's created this whole system where your sister gets protected and you get parentified, and now everyone's shocked that you're not playing along anymore. Coming from someone inside the family, that validation felt huge. You think so? Kieran, you're the only one who actually has your life together, and they punish you for it. Your sister's always been jealous of you. I've seen it at family gatherings for years. Your mom's always coddled her because she's fragile. And you've spent your whole life trying to earn approval you were never going to get because the game was rigged from the start. I didn't know what to say to that. It was too accurate, too painful. "So, what are you going to do?" she asked. "I'm going to the Caribbean." She burst out laughing. "Seriously?" "Dead serious. I leave Friday morning. I'll be on a beach with a drink in my hand while they're doing the chicken dance." "That's kind of amazing, kind of petty, but also amazing. Can I come?" "You're invited to the wedding." "Yeah, but now I'm wondering if I even want to go. This whole thing leaves a bad taste, you know? Like, if they can treat you this way, what does that say about them? Don't skip it because of me. You'll probably regret it. But if anyone asks where I am, feel free to tell them I'm somewhere beautiful having the time of my life." "Oh, I will. Trust me. I'll make sure everyone knows." We talked for another hour. She told me more details I hadn't known. How the family grapevine was buzzing with speculation about my absence, how my sister had told people I couldn't make it due to work commitments, which made me laugh bitterly because it was such a transparent lie. She also mentioned that the politician's family was apparently very traditional and very judgmental, and my sister was incredibly stressed trying to impress them. "She's trying to be someone she's not," Ivy said. "She's trying to fit into his family's mold." It's sad, honestly. But Kieran, that's not your problem to fix. You've spent your whole life trying to fix her problems. This time, let her figure it out. "Yeah," I agreed. "This time, it's not my problem." Friday morning arrived. I woke up at 4:30, wide awake with anticipation and anxiety mixing in my chest. My bags were packed. I'd spent an embarrassing amount of time choosing what to bring, like the clothes mattered. My out-of-office message was set. My apartment was cleaned because I'm that person who can't leave home messy before a trip. The car service picked me up at 5:30. The driver tried to make small talk. Where was I headed, business or pleasure? But I wasn't in the mood. I gave short answers and stared out the window, watching the city wake up. By 7, I was at the airport. There's something almost spiritual about airports in the early morning, isn't there? Everyone's in this weird liminal space between their old location and their destination, between who they were and who they might become. I felt like I was shedding a skin, leaving behind Kieran the fixer, the reasonable one, the family emotional support system, becoming someone else, someone who chose himself. The flight was smooth. I had a window seat, noise-canceling headphones, and a thriller novel I'd been meaning to read for months. I didn't think about my family, didn't check my phone obsessively, just existed in that bubble of transition, that space between earth and sky where normal rules don't apply. When we landed, the Caribbean heat hit me like a wall of warm water. I'd been to beach destinations before. Trevor and I had gone to Florida a few years back, but this felt different. The air smelled like salt and something tropical I couldn't quite name. Maybe hibiscus, maybe just vacation. This felt like choosing myself for the first time in my life. The resort was ridiculous. Seriously, almost absurdly beautiful. White sand beaches so fine they squeaked under your feet, still warm from the afternoon sun. Water so blue it looked photoshopped, those impossible shades of turquoise and sapphire that don't seem real. Palm trees swaying in the breeze like something out of a commercial. The whole postcard fantasy brought to life. My room had an ocean view and a balcony with a hammock. I unpacked, a process that took maybe 10 minutes because I'd packed light, changed into swim trunks, and went straight to the pool. It was 2 p.m. on Friday. The wedding was tomorrow at 4. In my old life, I'd probably be helping with last-minute setup right now, running errands for the bride, being useful, being necessary. Instead, I was ordering a mojito from the swim-up bar. The bartender was friendly, in that professional resort way. First time here? Yeah. Solo trip. Ah, taking some time for yourself? Something like that. He nodded like he understood and didn't need to know more. Made the mojito perfectly. Not too sweet. Plenty of fresh mint that smelled incredible, just strong enough that I could taste the rum. I took it to a lounge chair by the pool and just existed. Felt the sun on my skin. That specific warmth that only happens near the equator. Listened to the water and the distant sound of other tourists laughing. The smell of coconut sunscreen mixing with chlorine and ocean air. Didn't think about my family. Didn't wonder what they were doing. Just was. It felt revolutionary. Around 6 that evening, I went back to my room to shower and change for dinner. On impulse, I grabbed my phone. I'd been avoiding it all afternoon and opened social media. Scrolled through my photos until I found a good one. The view from my balcony. Ocean. Sunset. Palm trees. Nothing fancy, but it captured the moment. I posted it with a simple caption. When you're not their priority, make yourself your priority. The response was immediate. My friends, my real friends, the ones who knew the situation, commented supportive messages. Hell yes, and living your best life, and proud of you. Man, a few relatives saw it too. I watched the view count climb. 15, 30, 50. Ivy commented, living your best life. So proud of you, with a string of emojis. My mother called within an hour. I sent it to voicemail. She called again. Voicemail. Then came the texts, rapid fire. Kieran, this is incredibly inappropriate. Your sister is getting married tomorrow and you're posting vacation photos. Do you have any idea how this looks? People are asking questions. You're embarrassing the family. I raised you better than this. Take down those photos and stop being vindictive. I read them while sipping my mojito at the resort's nicest restaurant. I'd changed into a button-down shirt and actual pants. Wanted to feel fancy. I was sitting on the terrace overlooking the ocean, waiting for my table. The sun was setting, painting everything gold and pink. I didn't respond to my mother's texts, just silenced notifications from her and put my phone away. The restaurant was beautiful. White tablecloths, candles, sophisticated menu I had to Google half the items on. The host looked at me with something like pity when I said I had a reservation for one. Solo diner on a Friday night at a couple's resort. How sad, but I didn't care. I ordered the tasting menu and a glass of wine. Actually, 2 glasses of wine. It was that kind of night. Between the 3rd and 4th courses, some kind of fish with a sauce I couldn't pronounce but tasted incredible, I posted another photo. The beautifully plated food, the wine glass catching candlelight, the ocean dark but visible in the background. Caption, solo dining never tasted so good. More comments rolled in, more views. I could feel the ripples spreading through my family's social circle, could imagine the gossip texts flying back and forth. Did you see what Kieran posted? He's in the Caribbean while his sister's getting married. Can you believe him? Good. Let them talk. After dinner, I walked along the beach. The sand was still warm from the day's sun, and the sound of waves was better than any meditation app. I thought about tomorrow. The ceremony I wouldn't be attending, the reception I wouldn't be toasting at, the family photos I wouldn't be in, the suit I'd bought still hanging in my closet at home, tags removed, non-returnable, and I felt something I hadn't expected. Peace. Actually, genuinely peaceful. Like I'd been holding my breath for years and finally exhaled. That night I slept better than I had in months. No anxiety dreams about family drama, no waking up at 3 a.m. replaying arguments in my head. Just deep, dreamless sleep with the sound of the ocean through the open balcony door. The next morning, Saturday, the wedding day, I woke up naturally around 8. No alarm, just my body deciding it was time. I ordered room service breakfast, pancakes and fruit and coffee, eating on the balcony in my pajamas because when else do you get to do that? The ocean stretched out endlessly in front of me, and somewhere back home my sister was probably getting her hair and makeup done, surrounded by bridesmaids and family and all the chaos of a wedding morning. And I was here, in paradise, by choice. I took my time getting ready for the day. I'd booked a massage at the spa for 11, my first professional massage ever, which seemed ridiculous at age 32, but I'd always been too busy taking care of everyone else to take care of myself. Then I was planning to spend the afternoon at the beach, maybe try snorkeling. The massage was incredible. The therapist worked out knots in my shoulders I didn't even know I had, the kind of tension that had been building for years. I nearly fell asleep on the table, that deep relaxation where time stops mattering. At 4, the exact time my sister was walking down the aisle, I was at the beach, towel spread out, book in hand, drink from the beach bar nestled in the sand beside me. I checked my watch when 4 o'clock arrived, thought about her saying, "I do." Thought about my mother in the front row, dabbing at tears. Thought about the politician looking smug. And I turned the page in my book and kept reading. Around 6, my phone started buzzing. Not crazy, but enough to notice. I ignored it. Whatever was happening back home, it wasn't my problem. Not anymore. I had dinner at a different restaurant that night. Mexican place with live music. Sat at the bar and chatted with another solo traveler about nothing in particular. Went back to my room around 10, pleasantly tired, pleasantly buzzed, pleasantly alone. That's when I checked my phone. 17 missed calls, multiple text messages, voicemails I didn't listen to. Something had clearly happened. I called Ivy. She picked up on the first ring. "Thank God," she said. "I was hoping you'd call. What happened?" "Kieran, the wedding was a disaster. Like, an absolute disaster. My stomach did something complicated." "What do you mean?" "Okay, so the ceremony itself went fine. Your sister looked beautiful, he looked like himself, whatever. But the reception..." She paused, and I heard her take a breath. "His family was there. These very traditional, very formal people. And throughout the evening, several of them kept asking about you. Where's the bride's brother? It's unusual not to have the brother there. Is he okay? Okay. And your mom? Bless her heart, she tried to deflect. Said you couldn't make it? Work obligations. Very last minute. But I think someone, might have been me, accidentally on purpose, mentioned that you'd actually been uninvited. And that's when things went sideways." I sat down on the balcony. "Keep going." "So apparently one of his aunts overheard this and made some comment about how strange it was to exclude family, how that didn't seem very loving. And your sister, who was already stressed and had definitely had too much champagne, kind of lost it, started getting defensive and emotional, saying you'd been unsupportive of their relationship." Jesus, it gets worse. The politician tried to defend her, but in the process basically admitted that he'd pushed for your exclusion. Said something about how you'd tried to undermine their relationship, and he couldn't have that negativity at their wedding. His parents overheard this, and Kieran, they were furious. Why? Because apparently he'd told them you couldn't come because of work, that you were traveling for business and sent your regrets. Finding out that wasn't true, that he'd actually demanded you be excluded, it made them really angry. His mother is apparently very traditional about family. She didn't like that he'd lied, and she especially didn't like that he'd made your sister choose between her brother and him. So what happened? They had this huge argument. Your sister and the politician, right there at the reception. She was crying, he was getting defensive and angry, guests were definitely noticing. They left early, like by 9:30. The reception was supposed to go until midnight. People were talking. I didn't know what to say. Part of me felt vindicated. Part of me felt sick. Part of me just felt sad. "Are they okay?" I asked, even though I wasn't sure I cared. "I don't know. I heard through the grapevine that they were fighting at their hotel. Like seriously fighting. Guests complained about the noise and..." She hesitated. "I heard they might have separated. Like, left to different places? But I can't confirm that. The family group chat is going crazy though. Everyone's freaking out. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So, how's the Caribbean?" I looked out at the ocean view from my balcony, at the stars starting to appear in the darkening sky. "It's beautiful," I said honestly. "Good. Stay there. This mess isn't your problem to fix. Don't let them guilt you into coming back and playing therapist. I'm not planning to." "Good. Because I guarantee your phone's going to blow up with people trying to get you to come back and smooth things over. Don't do it. Let them deal with the consequences of their choices for once." We talked for a few more minutes before I had to go. She filled me in on more details, how various relatives were reacting, how my mother looked stressed, how even the politician's family seemed uncomfortable with the whole situation. After we hung up, I sat on the balcony for a long time, processing. The stars came out fully, more stars than I'd seen in years living in the city. The ocean was a dark mass with moonlight dancing on the waves. My sister was probably in a hotel room somewhere, possibly alone, her wedding day ending in disaster. My mother was dealing with questions and gossip, and I was here, letting the consequences unfold without trying to shield anyone from them. It was the hardest and easiest thing I'd ever done. The next few days were peaceful in a way I'd never experienced. I snorkeled and saw tropical fish in colors I didn't know existed. I read 3 books. I ate good food. I slept deeply. I didn't post anything else on social media. I didn't need to prove anything anymore. Just existed in this bubble of vacation time where my family's drama couldn't reach me. On the 3rd day, I was at the pool bar around noon. My liver was going to hate me after this trip, when a woman sat down a few stools away. She was probably in her 40s with graying hair pulled back, reading a book but occasionally looking up at the water. We made eye contact. She smiled. Beautiful, isn't it? Best decision I've made in a while. Solo trip? Yeah. You? Same. Needed to get away from, well, everything. She flagged down the bartender, ordered a margarita. I'm sorry, I don't mean to pry, but you look like someone who's either escaping something or processing something big. I laughed despite myself. Is it that obvious? I'm a therapist. Reading people is kind of my thing. I'm also supposed to be on vacation, which means I'm trying not to therapistize everyone, but old habits. She smiled self-deprecatingly. I'm sorry, I'll leave you alone. No, it's okay. And yeah, you're right, I'm processing. Want to talk about it? Completely off the record, obviously. Sometimes it helps to tell a stranger. So I told her. The whole thing. The exclusion, the confrontation, this trip, and now the wedding disaster I was hearing about through my cousin while sitting at a beach bar. She listened without interrupting, occasionally nodding, taking sips of her margarita. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. Do you feel guilty?" The question hit me like a slap because it was so direct, so honest. No, I mean, maybe I should, but I don't. I just feel lighter? Is that wrong? Wrong? God, no. It's actually the healthiest thing you've said in this whole story. She took another sip of her margarita. You know what I see in my practice constantly? People who become the family fixer, the one everyone calls, and they spend their whole lives managing everyone else's feelings while nobody manages theirs. That's accurate. And then when they finally say no, when they finally choose themselves, the family loses it. But it's not because they genuinely miss the person. It's because the whole system falls apart. They're not upset about losing you. They're upset about losing what you did for them. I stared at her. I never thought about it like that. Most people don't. We grow up hearing family is everything, right? But sometimes family is just people who happen to be related and treat each other badly. And walking away? That's not abandonment. That's self-preservation. Even if they say they need help, especially then. Because they don't need you, Kieran. They need someone to fix their mess. That's different. And you don't owe them that just because you're related. We talked for another hour. She told me about her own divorce, how she'd spent years trying to fix a marriage that was broken from the start, how learning to set boundaries had quite literally saved her life. I told her more about my family history, patterns I was only now starting to see clearly. So what do I do now? I asked eventually. They're going to expect me to come home and smooth this over. What do you want to do? I want to stay here, extend my trip, not think about any of them. Then do that. But no buts. You've spent your whole life doing what they wanted. Try doing what you want for once. See how it feels. That night, back in my room, I looked at my flight information. I was supposed to leave Sunday morning, 2 days away. On impulse, I pulled up the resort website and the airline site. It would cost money I didn't really have. Another $400 for the flight change. Another $800 for the extra week at the resort. $1,200 I'd have to put on the credit card that I'd be paying off for months. I did it anyway. Clicked confirm. Changed my flight to the following Sunday. Extended my resort stay. Called work and left a voicemail for my boss saying I needed to extend my time off. That it was a family emergency. That I'd understand if there were consequences, but I needed this. Then I turned off my phone. Not just silent. Completely off. For the first time in years, I was completely unreachable. The world would have to go on without me for a while. And you know what? It did. The next few days were some of the best of my life. I woke up without the weight of unread messages and missed calls. I had breakfast without checking my phone between bites. I went to the beach and actually relaxed. Actually read books cover to cover without interruption. Actually let my mind wander without guilt or anxiety or the nagging feeling that I should be doing something productive. It was glorious. I met other travelers, had conversations that went nowhere and meant nothing, and were perfect for that reason. Learned to snorkel properly from an instructor who had infinite patience, watched sunsets without feeling the need to photograph them. Just existed in the moment, present and real and mine. On the Wednesday of my second week, I ran into the therapist again. We'd exchanged numbers after that first conversation, just as friends, nothing romantic, just two people who'd had a meaningful conversation, and she'd texted asking if I wanted to have dinner together. We went to the beachfront restaurant, sat on the terrace and just talked. About books, about travel, about life. It was easy and comfortable and exactly what I needed. "You look different," she observed. "More relaxed." I turned my phone off. That'll do it. "How does it feel?" "Like I've been holding my breath for years and finally exhaled." She smiled. "That's recovery. That's what healing feels like. I keep waiting for the guilt to hit, for the moment when I realize I'm a terrible person for abandoning my family during a crisis. And nothing. I just feel free. Because it's not your crisis, Kieran. It's theirs. They made these choices. They get to live with the consequences. You're not responsible for managing the fallout of other people's decisions." That conversation stayed with me for days. On Friday, my 11th day in paradise, I finally turned my phone back on. I did it strategically. In the morning, after a good night's sleep, with coffee in hand and the ocean view to keep me grounded. The phone took forever to boot up. Then the messages started flooding in. The notification sounds went on for a solid minute. Texts, voicemails, missed calls, emails. It was overwhelming. I took a breath and started sorting through the mess. Trevor had texted multiple times. "Hope you're okay, man. Heard about the wedding disaster. Don't come back. Stay in paradise." He was a good friend. Ivy had texted probably 20 times, updating me on the situation. "Your sister and her husband separated. They're not living together. The family is freaking out. Your mom is asking about you. Don't come back yet." My mother's messages progressed through what looked like the stages of grief. Anger. "How dare you abandon your family like this?" Bargaining. "If you come back now, we can all sit down and talk about this rationally." Depression. "I don't understand how I raised such a selfish son." And finally, weirdly, something like acceptance. "Fine, stay there. We'll handle this without you." My sister's messages were complicated. They started desperate. "Please call me. I'm drowning here. I need my brother." Then turned angry. "I can't believe you're doing this to me. You're so selfish." Then got bizarre. "Everyone's asking about you, and I don't know what to tell them." But there was one message from Ivy, sent 3 days ago. That caught my attention. "Your sister admitted something huge. Call me when you can." I called her. She answered immediately. "You're alive." "Barely." "What happened?" "Oh man." "Okay. So after the disaster of a reception, things got worse. Way worse. Your sister and the politician have been fighting constantly. Screaming matches at their hotel. They went home separately. She went to her place, he went to his. They haven't lived together at all since the wedding. It's been 3 days, Kieran. 3 days of marriage and they're already separated." Jesus. But here's the thing. There was this family dinner 2 nights ago. Without you, obviously. And your sister just broke down, started crying and admitted she's always been jealous of you. Said everyone always liked you better, that you were the successful one, the responsible one, the favorite. My chest tightened. She said that? Word for word. She said she spent her whole life competing with you and losing, and that when the politician gave her the ultimatum about excluding you, part of her wanted to do it anyway. Not just for him, for herself. To finally be the center of attention without you there to compare her to. I sat down on the balcony. The beautiful view suddenly felt very far away. "Kieran? You still there?" "Yeah, I'm just processing. There's more." After she said all that, the politician got really defensive. Started saying he'd only suggested excluding you, that she'd been the one who really wanted you gone. They started arguing about whose idea it really was. And his parents were there. Remember? They finally saw him for what he is. Manipulative. Willing to throw his new wife under the bus to save face, all of it. So what now? Now? Your sister's back at home, staying with your mom temporarily. The politician is at his own place. The marriage lasted 3 days before they separated. 3 days, Kieran. Everyone's saying they're going to divorce. His mother actually called your mom to apologize. Said if she'd known how toxic her son was, she would have talked your sister out of the wedding. 3 days. The marriage had lasted 3 days. Is she going to apologize to me? I asked. I don't know. She says she wants to talk to you. So does your mom. They both seem, I don't know, different? Like they're finally seeing the dysfunction. Your mom actually admitted to me that she's always protected your sister because she seemed more fragile, that she expected you to just understand because that's what you always did. We talked for another 30 minutes. She filled me in on more details, the social fallout, the family gossip, how even distant relatives were taking sides. It was a mess. A complete, total mess. After we hung up, I sat on the balcony for a long time. The sun was setting, painting everything in golds and oranges. I thought about my sister. Her marriage in ruins after 3 days, finally confronting her own role in the disaster. I thought about my mother, finally seeing the patterns she'd created. I thought about how I'd spent 32 years trying to be perfect enough to earn their unconditional love, never realizing the game was rigged from the start. And I thought about the therapist telling me I wasn't running from the wedding. I was running from the guilt they'd trained me to feel. She was right. I spent the rest of my vacation, 3 more days, just being, existing, thinking, but not ruminating, feeling, but not drowning. When I finally flew home the following Sunday, I felt different. Fundamentally, irrevocably different. The flight back was smooth. I had a window seat again, watched the ocean disappear beneath clouds, then land appear, coming back to reality. But I was bringing something with me, that peace I'd found, that certainty that I'd made the right choice. When I landed, I didn't go straight home to my apartment. I went to a coffee shop nearby, sat in a corner booth, and composed a message. One message, sent to the family group chat I'd been avoiding for 2 weeks. I'm back, but things are different now. I love you all, but I won't be the person I was before. I won't be available to fix every problem or manage every emotion. I won't accept being treated as less important or less valued. I won't be excluded and then expected to understand. I'm happy to rebuild relationships that are healthy and reciprocal. When you're ready to meet me halfway, let me know. Then I muted the group chat and put my phone in my pocket. I ordered a coffee and sat there, breathing, feeling the weight of solid ground under my feet and the strange lightness in my chest that I'd found in the Caribbean and brought home with me. My phone buzzed, then again, and again. I ignored it. For the first time in my life, I wasn't rushing to see what they needed. What crisis needed managing? What guilt trip was being deployed? I was just sitting with my coffee, in my city, in my life, and it felt like freedom. The next few weeks were an adjustment. I'd been back for 3 days when my mother called. I let it go to voicemail. She called again an hour later. This time I answered, but on my terms, when I was ready. Kieran? She said, and her voice was different, smaller somehow. Thank you for picking up. What do you need, Mom? I need to talk to you, in person. Not to guilt you or manipulate you, I need to say some things face to face. I'm not ready for that yet. I understand. But when you are, I'll be here. And Kieran, I owe you an apology. A real one. I'm sorry for expecting you to always be the adult in the room. I'm sorry for protecting your sister at your expense. I'm sorry for asking you to understand when I should have been asking her to do better. I didn't cry, but it was close. The apology felt genuine. But sorry wasn't the same as changed, and I knew that. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Take your time. I'll be here when you're ready. We hung up. I sat with it. The apology was nice, but words were easy. Change was hard. Time would tell if she meant it. My sister texted me directly a few days later. Can we talk? I responded, not yet. She replied quickly, I understand. I'm so sorry, Kieran, for all of it. I'm getting help, individual therapy, and I'm filing for divorce. The marriage lasted 3 days before we separated. 3 days before I couldn't pretend anymore. He's not who I thought he was. You were right about everything. I stared at that message for a long time. 3 days. The marriage had lasted 3 days. I wrote back, I'm glad you're getting help. I'm in therapy too. Maybe someday we can have a relationship again, but right now I need space. I get it. I love you. I know. And that was that. No dramatic reconciliation. No tearful reunion over coffee. Just 2 people acknowledging damage and choosing to work on themselves separately before they could work on anything together. True to my word, I started therapy the following week. Found someone who specialized in family systems and boundaries. Her name was Dr. Paulson, and in our first session, she asked me to describe my family in 1 sentence. I'm the designated emotional janitor, I said. She nodded like she'd heard it 1,000 times before. Let's unpack that. And we did. Over weeks and months, we unpacked years of dysfunction. The parentification, being forced into an adult role with my sister from a young age. The golden child scapegoat dynamic, me getting the responsibility but my sister getting the protection. The learned guilt, being trained to feel bad for having needs or setting boundaries. I cried in her office more times than I can count. Worked through anger I didn't know I'd been carrying. Learned that phrases like, "you always understand," weren't compliments. They were tools of manipulation. It was hard. It's still hard, but it's necessary. I redirected energy toward friendships that actually fed me instead of draining me. Trevor and I started a weekly dinner tradition. Just two friends, no agenda, no drama. I reconnected with college friends I'd lost touch with because I'd been too busy managing my family. Started dating, nothing serious yet, but it felt good to put myself out there without the constant weight of family dysfunction. I picked up hobbies I'd abandoned, started rock climbing at a gym near my apartment, joined a book club, learned to cook more than just basic pasta, built a life that was mine, not a life defined by who needed me and when. Work had consequences, like my boss warned. I didn't get the promotion I'd been angling for. It went to someone else, someone who'd been there the whole time during the product launch while I was extending my Caribbean vacation. Fair enough, I'd made my choice, but my boss also seemed to respect that I'd finally set a boundary, that I'd chosen myself. In a weird way, it improved our relationship. He stopped treating me like someone who'd always say yes and started treating me like someone with limits, which was healthier for both of us. The credit card debt from the trip was real. I paid it off over 6 months, budgeting carefully, skipping some luxuries. But every time I made a payment, I didn't resent it. That money had bought me something priceless, my self-respect back. 3 months after the Caribbean, Ivy invited me to her birthday dinner. Will it be awkward? I asked. Your mom and sister are coming. Probably, but so are a lot of other people, and I really want you there. You can leave if it gets weird, but I'm hoping it won't be that bad. They both seem like they're trying to change. I went. Arrived a little late on purpose so I wouldn't have to do awkward small talk while waiting for others. The restaurant was crowded, noisy, full of Ivy's friends and family. I saw my mother across the room. We made eye contact. She gave a small wave. I nodded back. That was enough for now. My sister arrived late too. Maybe she'd had the same strategy. She looked different. Thinner maybe. Definitely sadder. Less performative. She saw me and her face did something complicated. Hope, fear, regret, all mixed together. She walked over. Hey, you look good? Thanks. You look like you've been through hell. She laughed, surprised. I have been, but I probably needed it. Can we talk sometime? Not tonight. But sometime? Yeah, sometime. That was enough. We sat at opposite ends of the long table. It was awkward, but not terrible. We existed in the same space without drama, without anyone expecting me to fix anything. Progress. 6 months after the wedding, after the dust had settled and the gossip had mostly died down, things had reached a new equilibrium. Ivy mentioned in passing that the politician had moved back in with his family. Apparently his parents were still deeply disappointed in how he'd handled everything, how he'd manipulated the situation, and then tried to shift blame. I felt bad for them, honestly. But that wasn't my burden to carry either. Around that same time, I got a letter in the mail. Actual paper in an envelope, with a stamp, from my sister. I almost didn't open it. Almost threw it away, not ready for whatever guilt trip or manipulation might be inside. But curiosity won. It was long, pages and pages of handwriting. She detailed everything, the jealousy, the competition, the resentment she'd felt her whole life, how the politician had sensed that insecurity and exploited it, how she'd used excluding me as a way to finally feel important, special, chosen, how she'd never actually seen me as just her brother, but as someone she was always being compared to and falling short of. The marriage lasted 3 days, she wrote. 3 days before we separated. I'm filing for divorce. The whole thing was a mistake from the beginning. You were right about him. About all of it. He was controlling. He did isolate me. And I let him because it felt like power when really it was just another cage. I've never seen you as just my brother. I've always seen you as competition. Someone I had to measure up to and never could. That's not your fault. That's mine. That's Mom's. That's the family system we were all trapped in. But mostly it's mine for not recognizing it sooner. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect us to go back to how things were. Honestly, how things were wasn't healthy for either of us. But I hope someday we can build something new, something real, something where I see you as a person, not a measuring stick. I'm in therapy, like really in therapy, twice a week, unpacking all the stuff I should have dealt with years ago instead of projecting it onto you. It's hard, but it's necessary. Thank you for going to the Caribbean. I mean it. Thank you for choosing yourself. It was the wake-up call I needed, even if I hated you for it at the time. You showed me that boundaries aren't mean, they're necessary. That love without respect isn't actually love. I'm sorry for everything. Take all the time you need. Your sister, I read it 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer. Not to forget about it, but because I needed time to process it, to decide what I wanted to do with it. A week later, I wrote back. Not pages, just a few paragraphs. Thank you for the letter. Thank you for being honest. I appreciate the apology, and I can see you're doing the work. That matters. You're right. We can't go back to how things were, but maybe we can build something new. It'll take time. It'll take consistency, not just words. It'll take both of us showing up differently. I'm willing to try if you are, but we're starting from scratch. No history, no assumptions, no falling back into old patterns. We get to decide who we are to each other now. Let's start slow. Coffee sometime, in public. No expectations. Kieran. She responded within an hour, agreeing. We met 2 weeks later at a neutral coffee shop downtown. It was awkward. There were long pauses and careful words. We talked about therapy, about what we were learning, about how hard it was to unlearn patterns that had been set since childhood. We didn't talk about the wedding, didn't rehash the fight, just focused on now, on moving forward. It wasn't warm. It wasn't like the sibling relationship I saw in movies or read about in books, but it was honest, and that was somehow better. We're not close now. We probably won't ever be the way some siblings are, sharing secrets, calling each other for advice, being each other's first call in a crisis. But we're cordial. We text occasionally. We show up to family events and can be in the same room without drama. We're working on it. And most importantly, we're doing it on terms that work for both of us, not just her. My mother and I are still figuring things out. She's apologized more times, in person, in writing, through Ivy. She's acknowledged her role in creating the dysfunction, in protecting my sister at my expense, in expecting me to always be the mature one. But patterns don't change overnight, and I'm cautious. We have dinner once a month now. Surface level stuff mostly. Weather, work, books we've read. I don't trust her with the deep parts of me anymore. Maybe I will someday, maybe I won't, and I'm okay with either outcome. The extended family gradually learned that I wasn't coming back as the fixer. Some relatives got it, some didn't. The ones who didn't, the ones who only called when they needed something, who only valued me for what I could do for them, quietly fell away. I didn't chase them. I let them go, and my life got simpler, smaller, but infinitely healthier. It's been 18 months now since that Tuesday morning text message, since we had to make some difficult cuts to the guest list. Looking back, I can see it clearly. I wasn't cut from the wedding. I was freed from a role I never should have had to play. The responsible one, the fixer, the person who always understood, always accommodated, always bent until he nearly broke. That version of Kieran doesn't exist anymore. The one who does exist, the one writing this, the one who chose 3 weeks in paradise over silent suffering, the one who said no and didn't apologize for it, he's a lot happier. Last month, I went back to that same resort. Same ocean view room, same infinity pool, same swim-up bar. But this time, I brought Trevor. We spent a week doing absolutely nothing productive, and it was perfect. No drama to flee from. No point to prove. Just vacation as it should be. Restorative, fun, simple. On the last night, we were at the same bar where I'd met the therapist 18 months earlier. Different bartender, but same passion fruit rum drinks. That perfect balance of sweet and tart with the burn of good rum underneath. Trevor raised his glass. To you, man, for having the guts to choose yourself. To me, I agreed. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I checked it, not anxiously, just casually, and saw a text from my sister. Just a photo of her in a therapist's waiting room with the caption, Week 36, still showing up. I sent back a thumbs up. That's our relationship now. Small check-ins, brief acknowledgements, nothing heavy, nothing demanding. Good enough. I put my phone away and looked at the ocean. The world kept turning whether I was fixing my family's problems or not. It was humbling and freeing. My therapist asked me recently what I'd say to the version of me who got that text message 18 months ago. The one who was still trying to figure out if he was allowed to be hurt by his own family. I thought about it for a long time. I'd tell him it's going to hurt worse before it gets better, I said finally. That choosing himself will feel wrong at first, like he's betraying everything he was taught about family and loyalty and sacrifice. That people will call him selfish, dramatic, vindictive. That his mother will cry and his sister will rage and relatives will whisper. And, she prompted, and I'd tell him to do it anyway. To book that flight, to post those photos, to turn off his phone, to let them figure it out without him for once. Because on the other side of that discomfort is a life where he gets to be a person instead of a function. She smiled. That's beautiful growth. Yeah, well, it took an expensive Caribbean trip and a lot of therapy to get here. We both laughed at that. But it's true. Every word. If I could go back and talk to that version of myself, the one staring at his phone in disbelief, wondering how his own sister could exclude him, I'd tell him that being excluded was the best gift she ever gave him, because it forced him to finally see what was always there. A family system built on his silence, maintained by his compliance, functional only when he was perpetually uncomfortable. I'd tell him that the guilt he feels isn't real. It's learned, it's programmed, and it can be unlearned. I'd tell him that some relationships are worth fighting for, but only after you've learned to fight for yourself first. And I'd tell him that 18 months from now he'll be standing on a balcony in the Caribbean. Again, by choice this time, feeling more at peace than he's felt in his entire life. That's worth everything. That's my story. How a text about space limitations at a wedding turned into the catalyst for the best decision of my life. It's messy and complicated, and not a fairy tale ending where everyone learns their lesson and we all live happily ever after. But it's real, and it's mine. And I'm finally okay with that. These days, my phone is just a phone. It doesn't control my life. I don't jump every time it rings. I don't feel guilty for letting calls go to voicemail. I don't carry the weight of everyone else's emergencies as if they're my own. I have a life that's mine. Friends who show up for me the way I show up for them. Boundaries that people respect because I enforce them. Relationships that are reciprocal, not transactional. And sometimes, on hard days when old patterns try to resurface, when the guilt tries to creep back in, I remember that beach, that mojito, that choice. The choice to put my own oxygen mask on first. The choice to stop being their emotional support system and start being my own person. The choice that saved me, and I'd make it again in a heartbeat.